My wife Daisy quit her job after a major falling out with her boss. According to her, they were trying to set her up for something shady, something illegal. Once she left, she wasted no time hunting for a new gig, but this time she was being extra picky. Thankfully, she didn't need to rush. I make good money, so she had the luxury of taking her time. Plus, I never pushed her to work. One evening, she came home all smiles, clearly in a great mood, and said, "Guess what? I landed an amazing job." "Oh yeah, that's awesome. So, where are you working now? Do you remember Stanley from my class?" Yes, I remember him. He was the guy who tried his best to impress my future wife in college. He was a real nerd, and of course she turned his head. That's the one. Well, you wouldn't believe it. He owns his own company now. A pretty big one, too. No way, really. That's crazy. Yep, he's really into fitness these days, looks completely different. He was talking about his success with so much enthusiasm that, honestly, I felt a bit uneasy. Is he married? Well, I asked if he was still married, and turns out he divorced his wife. They've got 2 kids, and apparently they split time between both of them. Interesting. And you? What's your role in all this? Ah, right. Back to the point. He offered me a position in his company. Guess what? Now I'm his deputy. Wait, hold up, deputy. Just like that? Well, you know how experienced I am, and I've got a solid track record. So he basically hired me on the spot as his second in command. I was honestly taken aback by the whole thing, but I didn't say anything. Daisy was in such high spirits about her new job, and every evening she came home with stories about her day, sharing everything that had happened. At first, I wasn't too thrilled about her working for Stanley, but after a while, I just accepted it. She'd always been frustrated and stressed at her old job, but now, she was practically glowing. That shift made me happy too. She would sometimes tell me about Stanley's kids or his latest fitness achievements, and I got used to hearing about him in her daily updates. One evening, Daisy told me she had to go on a business trip for a whole week. "Sweetheart, it's necessary. We need to sign these contracts in person. Over the phone just won't cut it. It's going to be tough, but that's the way it is." "If it's necessary, then it's necessary. Go ahead, of course, but don't worry. I'll be here when you get back in a week." Every day while she was gone, Daisy called me. She kept saying how dull and lonely it was, stuck all alone with a pile of paperwork. I missed her a lot, so I was really looking forward to her return. When the day finally came, I had a special dinner ready for her, a little celebration of her homecoming. Daisy came back upbeat and happy, practically glowing. Stanley had given everyone a 3-day break, so we decided to take advantage of it. The plan was to spend the day at the mall, buy a few things, have lunch, and just enjoy each other's company. We spent the morning shopping, then headed to a restaurant. That's when we ran into a man with 2 kids who came around the corner toward us. As soon as the kids spotted Daisy, they rushed over to her, squealing with excitement. I stood frozen for a second, not sure what to think, but it didn't take long for me to piece it together. The kids' reactions caught me completely off guard, especially when they started asking questions that I wasn't prepared for. "When are we all going to the lake together? When will we go swimming and play again?" I stared at Daisy and Stanley, completely stunned, trying to piece together what was going on. My wife's face turned crimson, and she avoided making eye contact with me. Stanley, on the other hand, just stared at the floor for a moment before he grabbed the kids by the hands, mumbled a quick goodbye, and practically bolted away with them. "So, you're telling me that during your business trip, You were bored and alone all week. Oh, come on, you know how kids are. They say whatever. You don't have to think I'm some kind of fool. We drove home in silence after that. Daisy spent the entire ride trying to convince me that I was wrong, that nothing was as it seemed. But deep down, I knew something didn't add up. I was absolutely sure she had lied to me. Instead of attending some business event, she had gone on a little getaway to the lake with Stanley and his kids. After that awkward encounter at the mall, it wasn't hard to figure out. We had a huge blowout when we got home, and things got ugly fast. She ended up moving in with her sister, and not long after, we got divorced. At that point, I had no interest in reconciling. The trust was shattered beyond repair. But it turns out things didn't exactly work out with Stanley either. Apparently, Daisy wasn't quite the right fit for him as a wife, or for his kids as a stepmom. Funny how things don't always turn out the way you expect. So, take it from me, always know where your partner is going. You never know what they might be up to when they're away. If I'd done that from the start, I might not have ended up in the mess I did. Trust me, you don't want to find yourself in the same situation.